How many of you have experienced an unexpected turn in your life? Sometimes it feels like everything is going perfectly, then suddenly that changes. Imagine having an amazing writing career ahead of you, and as you're about to publish your first book, your publisher falls through. What would you do? Sometimes you have to rearrange all your plans to make your goals happen. This is similar to Julian MacLaren-Ross's life in the 1900s as a British novelist. First, I'll be discussing Julian MacLaren-Ross's childhood and adult life and how they influenced the literary pieces he wrote. Next, I'll be discussing those pieces and how they're influenced by his life. And finally, I'll be discussing why he's considered a forgotten author during his time because of the setbacks he faced. First, as a child, Julian MacLaren-Ross grew up in London and was born in 1902. He lived with his family and moved around a lot and was living off of his grandfather's money. As he grew older, he decided that he wanted to become a writer and moved away from his family back to London and started off working as a printmaker. He wrote whenever he could, and as he saw his dreams coming true, he got drafted in the war. According to the modern novel, he did not enjoy war life, and while he published 2 pieces in the army, he then deserted. When he deserted, he was then captured and sent to the mental health institution. This is where he faced some of the hardest times of his life, and once he got out, while he continued writing, he still struggled to make it. He spent much time in the bars and some time in prison, and even a stretch homeless. And while he made many authoritative friends in the literature world, he still could not get his foot in the door. Some of the literature he wrote mostly focused on the World War II. And some examples of that literature are Bitten by the Tarantula, Of Love and Hunger, and Better Than a Kick in the Pants. He also wrote a BBC show series that became quite popular for a time. While his pieces were very influential during his time, they didn't last long in the limelight. Julian MacLaren-Ross's life was not stable, and therefore he could not keep money or a job very long. According to the Journal of Modern Periodical Studies, his mental health was not great, and because of his time spent in the bars, his alcoholism took over his time writing. This is one of the reasons he is forgotten during his time. His personal issues overcame his work life, and he was not able to find a balance. One of the many struggles he faced was becoming obsessed with George Orwell's widowed wife. He began stalking her for a time, and because of this, he ended up moving around more and writing less. He also became an alcoholic, and he also became addicted to pills. And because of this, it led to an early death at 52. And according to the Journal of War and Culture Studies, while his pieces are not very popular during this time period, there's still much worth discussing. His writings were compared to the works of authors such as Scott F. Fitzgerald. According to the Journal of War and Culture Studies, his pieces were more talked about than read in history. His personality spoke for him during his life, and it shows through somewhat in his literature. He had a very flamboyant personality and is one of the reasons he was friends with so many big-name authors during his time. According to the Lowney Agency of Literature, MacLaren-Ross was a successful writer with many downfalls, but without his downfalls, he would not have been able to produce his unique work. While he had many unexpected turns, Julian MacLaren-Ross had a very vibrant personality that has kept his writing relevant to this day, and it is now making a comeback during our time. While Julian MacLaren-Ross faced many difficulties during his life, he was still able to produce pieces of work that showcased his witty humor and the serious events that happened in his life, such as World War II. He was a great personality with many different struggles during his life, such as alcoholism and drug abuse, but he still created pieces of works that were original to him. And while his life did not go as planned, he still found some ways to work around his ailments. And Though I hope you don't face as many problems as Julian MacLaren-Ross did in his life, I do hope you are able to overcome your obstacles and fulfill your dreams.